Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Winkler here, and I wanted to take a minute and I wanted to talk about Qradar core concepts for 2020. This video is a bit of an anniversary for me. So the first video I did almost 5 years ago now, when I first came to IBM, was Qradar core concepts about what it is and why you'd want one and all that good stuff. And I went back and looked at that old video, and I'm like, wow, times have changed, and the things that we want out of our security information systems and the timeliness and the things we need to connect to are so different than they were even 4 years ago. So let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, Qradar is utterly the core of IBM's security strategy. The idea is if I can get all of your information in one place so you can make good decisions in the most timely fashion possible, this is our objective, right? This is our big win. Now, form factor has become a big argument, right? So if you want it on my hardware, your hardware, on-prem, on the cloud, however you want it, right? You tell me how it is, that's how we build it for you, including some folks that would like to use their Qradar as a managed service. That's what we call QRoC, or Qradar on cloud, right? So all of these concepts and all these features are identical no matter what form factor you want your Qradar in. Okay. Everything starts out with syslog, or log data. This is a 22, 23-year-old protocol, something like that at this point. Because of this, it is as reliable as Sunrise. Also because of this, it is a little bit limited. Years ago, when I was talking about log data, I would have told you how great it was that Qradar had device support modules, or DSMs, that would allow all this data to be recognized, right? You don't have to write parsers or anything. Now I'm going to tell you that most of it just auto-recognizes, right? If something comes in Leaf or Ceph format, easily the most common syslog formats, the Qradar will automatically recognize it. Maybe it'll pull down a parser, pull down a device support module itself. Maybe it'll just recognize it in the spot. But either way, there's very little manual intervention to it at this point. You pump data at a Qradar, it recognizes it, that's all. Right? And this old style log data, or this older style, is still probably 65%, 70% of all the data we see. But it's definitely the kind of trailing edge stuff, and we auto-recognize, auto-inject it. Okay. So what we're seeing that's kind of a coming wave is a lot of these API calls, right? So the infrastructure out there that reflects the modern world is there is a lot of Amazon and Azure and these other cloud services, including by my team over at IBM Cloud. And the infrastructure is important, right? So to say someone is opening up instances in my Azure cloud from Romania and I don't do business in Romania, or I'm watching instances shut down in my Amazon that I do not want shut down, this is a problem, right? So this is data that we need to stay fully and cogently aware of, and it needs to be with our on-site data so that we understand the problem coherently, right? There's a school of thought that says you want one tool for the cloud and another one for on-prem, and I'm going to say I disagree pretty vehemently with that, and we'll get dirty in that as we go along. There's also a lot of application APIs, right? So you have things like Office 365, which is the king of this crap, and you have Blue Coat, things like this. That it doesn't matter where your Blue Coat is or where your user hits your Blue Coat from, that they're going to send logs over to your Qradar in the same kind of authenticated format. Might be the internet, might be in one of your sites, could be anywhere, right? But because it is from all places and it needs to be authenticated and we don't know how it's transiting, the APIs are the best way to do it. So these application APIs are just like the applications we've always garnered with syslog, just kind of a more modern approach to it, right? And where I used to say there's, no device support modules, I used to say that I needed device support modules for syslog. We still need a few of them for the API data, but that's something that's coming, is auto recognition for all the APIs as well, but that's still coming attractions. Okay. NetFlow. I love NetFlow. It is the unblindable eye. It is something that shows me what's going on in your environment, and no matter how good your logging is, there's things you will never see unless you can see the flows. So if Wendy works for me, and she's a developer, she comes in, and she checks code out of a code vault, and that's her job, that's cool. And she then tries to send a half a terabyte of data up to her OneDrive, well, that's a problem, right? Or if I see a VPN tunnel inside my environment going to a place that I don't go, that's a question. Or I have a VPN tunnel that's been going on for 3 weeks, and I don't have users with that kind of behavior. I can tell you these things with the NetFlow, right? Size of transaction, duration of transaction, all of these things that you will never see with log data. And it is super important. Okay. Inside these cloud services, AWS has VPC flows, Azure has VTAP, which we can gather flows from, right? Because VTAP is more than that. So we had there was a customer out there, not one of mine, that got hit a while back in their big cloud presence. And even with as many cloud experts as there are around us now, no one's been doing this more than 2 or 3 years because it's all so new. If I can see the flows going around inside your cloud infrastructure, I can't stop a breach from happening, but I can tell you within 2-3 minutes. And sometimes that's the difference between a minor incident and losing your business, right? So that's kind of a big deal. So we take the log events, both the modern style and the older style. We take the net flows, both the new and the old, and we run this into kind of our intelligence engine, right? So what we get out of that is a combined view of each of these things, aggregated and coherent to say not just Mike's had 3 failed logins in an hour, so that generate an offense, what we used to call static baselines. That there's also what we call machine learning, right? So I have these active learning things to say, oh, there's a whole bunch of sales engineers at IBM, about 100 of us, and that I'm going to look at all of their behavior and create a baseline for how I see sales engineers working. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to see what Mike tends to do. So, and based on this kind of endlessly learning algorithm, it sees if I start acting out of form with my peer group or just against my own behavior. So you have an awful lot of this kind of dynamic learning. The term machine learning has become a big deal recently. We've always had it. We've always done it. We just haven't called it that for quite a while. Okay. After that, we get into threat feeds and cognitive tools. When I did this last year, we were talking all about Watson and the X-Force feed. Now, they're still there, and they're still good tools, and I use them every day. Okay, but now there's a bunch of threat feeds. Maybe you have a McAfee trusted source or a checkpoint that you like, right? Or maybe you have one of these other cognitive engines, and if you go out to my app store, you're going to see there's a lot of tools out there, so that whatever tools it is that works best for you, we plug them in, and they become part of this security intelligence model. Okay. Vulnerability data. So what's interesting about vulnerability data is this is as old as some of these tools are new. Vulnerability data is one of those things that you go through, you do a scan, your Qualys, your Nessus, whatever it is you're using, and you I find I have a cranky old proxy server that I can't patch because it breaks another application, something like that. And so I know that it's vulnerable. That data gets exported to the Qradar system. So if I see an event that is going to exploit that vulnerability, I send you a highest possible alert, right? I send you a page on your phone to say, hey man, you need to jump up and go take care of this. So vulnerability data is a really big piece about making this package work, right? About making the security intelligence work. Visualizations. One of the places we get some crap from some competitors is they say we have an old school look and feel. Our answer to that is you like the old way, great. You like the new way, great. Mix and match to your heart's content. So there's a bunch of new visualizations, of which I've thrown a couple of them up here in the window for you, to say that some people do like the offense window as it's appeared for 7 years, and this is what they feel is the best tool, and it's still there for you. Some folks like all graphical intent. Some people like all of these tools that are mix and match, like that one on the upper left there. My answer is whatever you like for an interface, I have it for you, right? Everything is all in these plugins, all from the App Store, so you can run it any way you want to run it. It's really about being the core of the modern SOC, right? The bad guys have got their own artificial intelligence, which, although evil artificial intelligence sounds like a movie I'd watch on Saturday night, the bad guys are very fast, they're very modern, they're state actors. We need tools that move as fast or faster than they do. So if we're going to stay ahead of the modern threats in 2020 and beyond, we need a modern SOC. Guys, thank you for your time. I'm Mike Winkler, and this has been Qradar Core Concepts.